So what are these volumes? Tidal volume, this is going to be volume at rest. So as we look at inspiration, expiration, residual, something that gets left over. For the inspiratory, this would be, okay, what can be breathed in after a normal inhalation. I've been trying to represent that the past 2 days. I doubt very seriously I get in another 3,000 milliliters after my 500. Okay, I doubt very seriously that I do that. We got some respirometers in there, but I don't really want to check it. Okay, so this means what can be beyond the normal inhalation. So if a person was doing a spirometry test, that therapist might be saying, come on, breathe in, keep on, keep on, keep on, don't stop, don't stop. And you know, you're like, all right? So we could take in up to another 3,000 milliliters of air. Now remember, this is the normal healthy male, okay? So then, if I'm at rest, and now it's made me yawn, because I got to balance everything back out. Okay, so if I'm just doing my normal breathing, where I'm here, okay? There's a huge difference between that and what I showed, right? So now, if I do my normal, breathe in, breathe out, okay? Breathe out. Now, this is where that therapist is going to be sitting there, standing there going, push it harder, and you got that little thing up to your mouth, you know, and you're trying to move that little thing up and down and that little spirometer and everything. And so you're breathing out, and they're going, keep on breathing. And so you're like, you know, trying to get as much air out as you can, okay? And we can have, after the normal exhalation, up to 1,200 milliliters. Now, the whole time, okay, the whole time, the therapist is noting these numbers, all right? They're going to have their little chart they're writing on, and they're going to be putting in these numbers based on the volume of how you're moving that spirometer, okay? And they're going to take these numbers and put them into an equation. Is everybody following me? All right? So as they do their test, the numbers that they'll write down, they'll now use it to determine what is the capacity. The capacity is 2 or more of those respiratory volumes that they've got to work with. So, remember how I was trying to point out TV, IRV, ERV, RV? I really want the RV one. Okay? Now, we have vital capacity, inspiratory capacity, functional residual, and total lung capacity. Vital capacity. This lets them know, for that respiratory therapist, that greatest amount that can be expelled during that forced exhalation. Inspiratory.
That's the vital?
That's vital.
But since the greatest amount expelled during that forced exhalation,
Mhm. The inspiratory. Inspiratory is going to let them know how much of the volume, how much is it that can be taken in by that full inhalation. Where they're going, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. The residual is just what would be the amount that remains after a normal respiratory cycle. And then the total lung capacity. What's the total amount? So there will be a norm. Say, for example, your total lung capacity. If that average is roughly 6 liters for the adult male, and when he goes through that testing, and let's say that after they've done the test, they've gotten the numbers, they've done the math, they say the total lung capacity is 5. That's going to be indicative of something wrong. Based on what the respiratory therapist did, they can check to see, all right, are we looking at something that's inhalation, exhalation, residual? What is the case? And the pulmonologist can go from there. Does that make sense?
So the residual is what is left inside your lungs?
Right. There's always going to be residual air when you breathe in and breathe out, okay? Just because you breathe in and breathe out, you're not moving every bit of the air that's in your lungs. You're not moving every bit of it in and out. There's stuff that remains left behind in the lungs. So after you do a normal respiration cycle, there's a norm of what should be left behind in the lungs. It doesn't become stagnant, okay, because there's a constant inflow and outflow of the air.
Inspiratory capacity, that's the total amount that can be breathed in. Volume?
Oh, the inspiratory? Inspiratory is what is that volume, okay, based on that spirometer. What is the volume that can be taken into the lungs on that full inhalation? So they're standing, you're breathing in, and they're standing there going, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. Okay, and then you kind of get dizzy. Like I am now. Maybe that's why I've got a headache. All this breathing I'm doing. Wow. Okay. So the job is to collect this data, just like we would have from other tests, and determine if we've got normal function, if we've got decreased function, because they use this for determining any type of pathology that could be present. So people who get diagnosed with respiratory disorders, probably one of the things that they have to do a lot is the spirometer testing, okay? Not sure what other tests there might be, okay? I have a student who hopefully after she goes through the program, maybe she'll come back and tell me what some of the other tests might be, okay? But what we're going to find in the lung disorders are either going to be restrictive or obstructive. There's a difference, all right? If it is a restrictive disorder, we are reducing compliance, the ease with which the lungs and the thorax expand. This means we limit the inflation of the lungs. When doing spirometry, this usually begins to show up for the vital capacity. Some examples: black lung disease, tuberculosis. Those are restrictive disorders. Obstructive disorders. These are going to interfere with the airflow by blocking or narrowing the airway. Chronic bronchitis, asthma. Have you ever known somebody with like chronic bronchitis? Yeah, I have a friend, heavy smoker, and it's like she's always on an antibiotic. And I beg her, put them down, put them down, put them down, put them down. She don't pay a whole lot of attention to me. Asthma. What about someone who has asthma? Ever known somebody with that? Ever been with them when they've had an attack? I don't know about y'all, but it's kind of scary. It's very scary for me. How about y'all?
It feels like you're trying to breathe through a straw.
And it's just like it's not going anywhere. Yeah. In spirometry, the measuring of the exhalation, okay, usually the measuring of it is done rapidly, and that forced expiratory volume. And what we're doing is there's going to be a volume and a percentage of air that can be exhaled, and most of the time it's not reaching the norm value. In your textbook, on table 22.3, there is a list of the variations of respiratory rhythms. Because when we say respiratory rhythms, what we're talking about is anything that is not the norm for breathing. A normal breath, we have bilateral movement. We've got the expansion, okay, that takes place. But sometimes there can be disorders, for example, like apnea. Ever heard of that?
Sleep apnea.
Like sleep apnea. Doesn't have to just deal with sleep, but a cessation of breathing. But people who have sleep apnea, whew, mercy. Ever been around one? What happens? You need to make sure you go sleep first, right? Or sleep with a fan running or earplugs or something. And you're constantly, rolling them up, roll up. They stop breathing, and then there's a huge gasp to get the breathing back going. And man, it's just kind of crazy up in there. We have other disruptions to the rhythm. We have stuff like hyperventilation. Anybody in here ever hyperventilated? Okay, they make you breathe in a bag. Yeah.
Put your head between your legs.
Okay. Somebody asked me to do that, I'd be in sad shape. I ain't that lumber no more. So, there are different things that, and these differences in anything that's not a normal rhythm, we've got different terms for them. Now, the fun. I love this part.